Hey, it's Brian. Welcome to Heart to Heart, Episode 5, Embracing Your Emotions, featuring our guest, casting director Gayle Pillsbury. Brace yourself for a story that will inspire you to take risks and be your authentic self in the entertainment industry. If you are a fan of profound journeys and trips to Burning Man, you will not be disappointed. Gayle has gained invaluable insights on the importance of authenticity, risk-taking, and personal growth. But how did Gayle's principles lead to her success? Keep listening to find out. Now, before you listen, you've got to grab our Backstage Pass. It is packed with Gayle's top tips, insider advice, and additional resources that will give you a competitive edge. You can grab the Backstage Pass by going to podcastbackstagepass.com.
I couldn't wait for today, not because of the casting credits, which of course are so damn impressive, but because you are someone who is very much alive. And I even remember last year talking with Brian, you and I, about a situation, and we're not going to talk. But you know what's amazing, Gayle? You're always like, you care so much. And I wanted to start off by, so this is what I thought of Gayle. I once was at a bookstore, and I saw this book, and it said, if you want happiness in your life, turn the page. And it will reveal, the next page will reveal the answer to everything. I was like, all right, turn the page. And it said, and I think you're going to relate, it said, you are going to die one day.
Yeah.
And it said, if you remember this, then all of your days that you're here, you will consider a gift. And that is what I think of you, is that you always live, when we talk to you, when you teach, when you're doing anything, you come across as someone who really takes each day as a gift.
You're going to make me cry.
No, but it's true. So that's why
the biggest compliment ever.
That's why I and Brian, we both got so excited to see you in this.
We actually did not invite many casting directors to be on here.
No,
because they suck.
You know what? I don't want this to be about the traditional,
I'm kidding.
as Brian would say, the SAG thing about, so what do you look for in? Here's the first thing that really I want to know about. And I really want to know about, and I'm sure our audience, okay. You go to Burning Man every year.
I do.
How many years is it? Would you say, how many years have you been doing this off and on?
Okay. Burning Man, you mean?
Yeah, Burning Man.
I wish I could say from the beginning. I wish I could look super badass, but not. Just 2017 was my first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the mystery to me about Burning Man, because I've always been curious and want to go someday, right?
You have to go. Turn the page, dude.
Well, this is why I want to hear from Gayle. What turns you on that since 2017 you go, I'm going back?
Oh my gosh.
Next year.
About Burning Man?
Yeah, like what is it about Burning Man? Because, to me, I just know, it's Burning. But what is it about Burning Man that makes everybody I know who I've met say, once you go, you don't go, you go every year?
Mm-hmm. Because especially in this day and age, right, with kind of the impermanence of everything. We live in a disposable culture. We can dispose of people we don't like and their thoughts. We can dispose of a phone if the screen cracks or whatever, right? Burning Man has this root in the impermanence of things, but they create an entire society knowing that it is just temporary only for the people who were there to enjoy it, to take it in, and it's all going to be lit on fire, and it's just going to live inside you. And then you leave Burning Man, you leave Black Rock City, and you just carry it with you. And by the way, there are, rules by which people live that ideally are also carried forth in life. Radical acceptance. Okay, so there's no judgment. Whatever your opinions are, however you dress, however you express yourself, it's radical acceptance. Okay, there's also leave no trace. Anything you come in with, you leave with, right? You cannot even drop a feather on your costume on playa without picking it up. Or if for some reason people are irresponsible, because they do, right? You have all the Burning Man volunteers who clean up the playa entirely. So it's absolutely leave no trace of what existed there, right? Which is also beautiful, especially as you walk through these cities like LA. I live in Echo Park, and there's trash everywhere.
Right.
Or you go into a campground anywhere, and there's trash everywhere. It's like, oh, these people are not burners, right? This is also a good life lesson, right?
Yeah.
And all of this art and all of this beauty and all of these worlds are created only for that week of experience. That's it.
Okay, so when you say it then ends with burning, does everybody burn their art?
Well, the actual man. So there is an actual man.
That all the communities come together for that actual man? Like they gather around him?
He's the center of the playa. Yeah.
And how big is the playa?
Oh, I don't know what the actual acreage is of Black Rock City, but we're talking 80,000 people are there.
Yeah.
Wow. Still massive.
Okay, so he must be pretty tall.
So, he's not. He's huge.
Yeah.
He's huge. He's built every year, and he's a different design. And then you also have a temple that's built. So you have artists all over the world who submit their designs to Burning Man.
So they get chosen.
To build the man, to build the temple, right? Because there's a temple there also. And so the man burns on Saturday, the temple burns on Sunday. They're very different experiences. All week, the people are visiting the temple. They're sitting there. They're bringing artifacts of loved ones that they've lost.
Are they meditating in the temple?
Some people meditate. Some people dance. Some people sing. Some people just walk around it.
Wow.
But people bring things of someone that they loved, or like someone will bring a pen or like a notepad, and you're sticking them all over places in the temple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, something that's, I remember one year I was like, fuck you, motherfucker who raped me when I was 14. You get no ownership of me anymore. And then just know that you're leaving something there that no longer serves you, that's going to go up in fire. It's really about the death of what doesn't hold you anymore and the rebirth of self, spirit, empowerment, whatever. It's beautiful.
I want to stay with Burning Man,
Sure.
but for 1 second, because it made me think of this, I want to ask you, then that reminds me of what people say about ayahuasca. Because they say that when someone does something like ayahuasca, right, they say that it is something where you actually can heal your past. In a lot of cases, parents from the past, like they come up in different visions and the person confronts these like demons that cause the kid to like grow up as an adult angry or what have you. When you were describing Burning Man, it sounded a little bit like that. Would you say there's a parallel?
It's very similar. Are we taping?
No, don't. Yeah. But it's conversation. This is what it's about. This is not some like, what do you see? Yeah.
Right.
So that's.
I told you it wouldn't be like a regular podcast.
I love it.
That's why your normal casting director's not coming in, because this is what it is.
So great.
Thanks.
There are. I love that you align those things. Yes, I would say there are similarities, and they're actually, when you do one, be it Burning Man or plant medicine or whatever, you start finding people everywhere who do this. You actually start finding your community. I think you're casting that line out there, like into the universe, but also socially, physically, right? So at Burning Man, yes, you find a lot of healers. And there are people who are serving plant medicine like Hape or something,
Shaman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I mean, at Burning Man, and I'll get to your ayahuasca question, but at Burning Man, there's kind of like, there's just everyone. There is literally something for everyone, right? So, I mean, you can go into a tent where you're making your own pasties. You can go into a tent where you're drinking tequila and...
Are they selling tequila or no?
No, you don't. There's no money's exchanged.
That's what I hear. So in the tent, you bring your own, or there's someone brought tequila for everybody.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Or
like mixed drinks or food, like, because that's another of the 10 principles is radical self-reliance. So you need to come with all of your food and all of your water and all of your alcohol and all of your everything, right? But you also know that you're going to walk into a tent and someone's going to be like, here's some, coffee, or do you want something to eat? Or you're out on the playa and all of a sudden you realize I've been out here for 2 hours and I didn't bring enough water. And someone just is magically going to ride up and be like, do you need some water? Do you want a cold beer? Like everyone takes care of everyone else, which is also the beautiful thing. This is because you just feel love. You just feel 100% love there. And that's what I will tie into plant medicine, right? Is that when you are sitting in ceremony with ayahuasca, you have to be careful.
Which is natural, all natural.
Plant medicine.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be careful because there are some charlatans out there, right, who are serving medicine and maybe have not been initiated by the tribes in the jungle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a medical doctor where they have, they have their diploma, or they went to school, it's all on the wall. And you're like, I'm serving you ayahuasca. You're like, okay. So you have to, it really is word of mouth. You want to make sure that you're sitting in ceremony with someone who's really deeply honoring of the medicine and knows how to serve it, knows how to take care of you, because it can get harrowing, right? Because yes, it is unearthing whatever it is you need. The medicine knows, right?
Get out of town.
Right.
Wow.
So like plant medicine, it's not like drugs. Like some people think, I'm going to go take ayahuasca, or I'm going to have I'm going to go take bufo and have this like amazing.
And a bird's going to sit on my shoulder. Yeah.
You're not socializing when you're in plant medicine. It's not like doing any other drugs, even mushrooms, which are a plant medicine, right? But you can kind of, depending upon what your dosage is or whatever, like you can kind of go out in mushrooms, right? Especially if you're microdosing, you're operating like a normal human being, but that's an aside. But you can be in a social setting, right? When you're doing bufo or combo or ayahuasca, it's all internal, okay? And the thing is, like drugs, recreational drugs, you do it, you have this awesome experience and you feel great, but then you feel like crap the next day. So plant medicine's the inverse of that. It can be harrowing while you're in the journey, but it lives with you in beautiful evolution as the days go on, and it just continues to exist in you. And it is about like what you learn in the journey, and then what your shamans kind of help translate for you that you experienced, right? And then how you integrate that. And there are a lot of people there who have experienced incredibly harrowing trauma in their life, right?
We all have. I mean,
sure.
Different value degrees. Yeah.
Right? But it's all so personal, right? It's all relative. It's not to be compared or contrasted. We're all there. People are there to heal. People are there to evolve. At Burning Man or in plant ceremony and ayahuasca. So those are the similarities, is you have people who are coming together to heal, to experience, to evolve. Like there's deep similarities between them. Yeah.
Well, there's a through line here with even some of the acting stuff we're going to talk about, but I want to hear. So Gayle's getting ready to go to Burning Man. Do you go with friends or do you go just with your...
I go with friends.
Okay, so you go with friends. How many?
And my husband.
Like how many total friends do you go with? Like 4?
It depends. We have 2 friends that we go with all the time. The first time I went, I took my daughter and her best friend.
Oh, okay.
So it was just us, right? But then my husband and our 2 friends, Chad and Wendy, and Wendy has been going to Burning Man since the very, very beginning. I mean, she's for 20 blah blah years, right? And but you go and there's always somebody else, other friends who attach, or you go and you camp with your burner friends, but you're always meeting people.
Oh, so this is what I want to ask you. So you're going with your friends. Are you in a car? Are you in one car? Or you take multiple cars to get there?
We take an RV They have theirs.
Okay, they have an
And
RV
then-
too.
So everyone is kind of all set up.
And you discuss-
Some people are in tents.
Mhm.
Some people are at RVs. We all bring food. We all
You
share.
discuss,
It's a
you discuss the
community.
menu. You discuss, hey, I'm going to bring this. You bring that. Okay, so you get there. Now the tickets they're not cheap, right? Are they like
No.
okay? So whatever the tickets are, when you get there, and it's in the desert. Where is it again?
It's in Black Rock City. It's
City.
in Nevada.
Okay.
So it's about
Driving.
an hour and a half outside Reno.
Right. So you leave in here. You get there in one day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a long line when you get there of cars to get in?
There is for people who go really early. It depends on the time you arrive. So it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever been to any music festival like Coachella, right? Or something like you're sitting in a long line.
Okay, so
and
you are.
sometimes during the course of the day, depending upon what time you get there, it's more, you sit there for hours.
Are you prepared for a long line?
I usually roll in super early in the morning or super late at night,
Smart.
which is the time, one, it's cooler. So you're not sitting out in that blazing sun, right? And two, the lines are. I've never had to sit in a big line going into Burning Man.
So then when you get to the line, is there like a guy in a window or a guy up, obviously no window, but like the guy at the gate? Is there like a gate that he goes, you're in?
Oh, yeah, because you have to imagine imagine the largest expanse of desert your mind can fathom, okay? And there's no structures, there's no streets, there's no anything for as far as you can see. Like there's some mountain ranges that like way, way, way far out there, right? So that's the beautiful thing about the Burning Man organization and all of the volunteers who hold Burning Man so deep in their heart is you have thousands of volunteers who go out who create this city, this structure, right? So you have cone lanes and the Bureau of Land Management has already put up like fencing.
Okay.
But it's out there, right? It's a big expanse. And so there are lanes so that when the cars come in, they're all lined up. And then you have all these volunteers who are like beautifully costumed and happy, and they're all there to like check everyone's cars.
So like you're in, and then you get to the...
And you go, and and you check your tickets, and then they have the whole like ticket structure, wood structure for people who have issues with their tickets, and it's like any festival. They're just making sure that you have, your car camping pass, that you have your tickets, that you haven't forged something.
Yes. Yeah. So they let you in. Where do you find your campground? How do you do that?
Well, there are many different ways, right? But there are camps. That's the thing, is that Burning Man is all of the camps are set up on like this sundial, right?
Oh, okay.
So if you are attached to a camp that already exists, that already has placement, you know where they are. They're at E4 or they're at, A21, right? On the sundial, right? And so you know where you're going to go up and put your RV or your tent, right? Because the camps get placement kind of early on in the process, right? By Burning Man, so they can organize who's on the esplanade and where everyone's placed. And then there's also people who just kind of aren't attached to a camp, but just kind of camp out on their own, out of the grid, right? They just ride their bikes into the grid, right? You still have to have tickets, though.
Do you bring a bike, by the way?
Oh, you have to bring a bike.
You do? Wow.
You absolutely have to.
I didn't know
Otherwise, otherwise you would not be able to get it. It's too big.
No, but some people are coming from, let's just say, New York. So do they have to they rent a bike for that week?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Some people just pick up cheap bikes.
I was going to say, what a great bit! I would what I would do is I'd buy like 150 bikes and start selling them right there.
Which would be super smart.
Yeah.
The sad thing is like thousands of bikes are left on the playa when people leave because they're like, bought this bike for $25 and I'm flying back to Spain.
I just get a big shed and keep it there for next year. Keep it there for next year. Anyway, what do you?
Yeah.
Like, are there bathrooms or like what's
That's a good question. Yes. He would not like this.
No pooping on the playa. Thankfully, no trace.
I'm so traumatized now. Like, what's the
Oh my
bathroom
gosh.
situation?
I can wait for the answer.
Oh yes, of course. Burning Man has bathrooms.
Okay. Well, no,
Set
so
up,
your RV.
Well, we have an RV,
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
But like, and that's part of the reason that we rent an RV is like our friends have, a Mercedes Sprinter, right? So it doesn't have like a bathroom in it, or that's, they come with toilets, but they don't use that one. They use ours, and so it is like a communal.
And there's a shower too, like you can.
No, here's the amazing thing. Yes, our RV has a shower.
No one takes showers.
No, but here's the amazing thing. One of the camps at Burning Man is this amazing, it's an amazing shower. Like you
Wow.
go in.
Continuous shower.
Everyone goes and you stand in line and you get soaped down. And some people are soaping down each other and it's this huge shower. You get sprayed.
So everyone's like naked?
Yeah, well, how do you take a shower? And someone else is
People aren't.
Yeah, and you can have someone soap you down, or
You
can have
can't judge.
Wow, I love it.
It's radical acceptance.
Right.
So some people are fully naked.
Oh my.
Some people may not feel comfortable in that, so they're in a bathing suit or whatever, or their undies.
I love it. I love that.
And that's part of the thing about Burning Man that I think people love so much is we live in Los Angeles. We live in a very expressive, very accepting community, city, state. Let your freak flag fly. And then we're in this industry, which encourages that even more. A lot of people don't have that in their day-to-day life, right?
But even what you're saying,
maybe they live in a place that is more judgmental,
Yeah.
where difference isn't accepted,
mm-hmm.
Where maybe there's more conservative viewpoints on how we express ourselves, right? So you go to Burning Man and you just experience this freedom of expression. You can dress up any way you want and nobody is furrowing their eyebrows at you. Nobody's going to say anything to you. In fact, they're going to come up and they're going to hug you and they're going to welcome you home and tell you that they love you and you're going to meet all these friends, and it is all this genuine acceptance and love. And there's a lot of people, sadly, in this world who don't experience that unabashed, demonstrative acceptance. And so they go to Burning Man and they're seen and they're not judged and they're loved and they get to express love and they see art and they're dancing and they're being weird or awkward or like kind of whatever it is that your hang up is, you can let it go there, and you're totally loved. And so some people walk away profoundly and forever changed. Like whenever I come home from Burning Man, I cry for like over a week.
Wow.
Because just reintegrating back into just kind of regular life and regular
And
life
also,
is really hard.
You connected to the this is what I was gonna I want to come back to this because what made me think of this is in another lifetime, I don't know if you know this, I booked comedians. I ran this festival called the New York Comedy Film Festival.
I knew that. I forgot that about you.
So anyways, we also did a tour. So like we had a sponsor and then we would go to colleges and I'd have to book the comedians. And there's always those moments, right, where the comedian will say something where the entire audience feels connected. He disarms everybody.
Yes.
And as a result, what you're saying about Burning Man, I came to the conclusion that's why everybody's so hungry to see some good comedy. They want to connect.
Completely.
Hey, it's Brian. I'm dropping in on an important announcement. What you need to know is you have more control over your career than you think. The thing standing between you and the career you want is your connections. And that's where One-on-One Next Level comes in. If you are not a member yet, you can apply to join at oneononenextlevel.com. Press pause and do that now. If you are already a member and you are ready to get back on track, we want to invite you to book a strategy session with us led by myself personally. We will help you prioritize which classes make the most sense given your career goals. You can find these under the Resource Hub in your account portal. We can't wait to hear your success story.
Okay, so now with acting, there's something that happened to me last night, just happened last night, and I just want to see if you go through this or because you do this every day, but once in a while, someone will come along, right? And whether it's at theater, but I was watching, I was watching Blonde, okay, the Monroe film, and this woman, Anna de Armas,
Yes.
I got to tell you, when I had to tell my wife, I said, stop what you're doing. I just want you to come here for 2 minutes. And I said, and she goes, no, I'm busy. And I said, no, just for 2 minutes. I said, I want you to watch this person playing, and I just want you, am I just seeing something? Or does this person, this person, like, she is just, she's going to connect everybody to Marilyn because of the way she's playing her. And her talent is like, and that's why, of course, I originally got into this. So I'm just curious, did you by any chance see Blonde? Or?
I have.
Okay, all right,
but
great.
I want to.
Okay, so when you see somebody like that, does that happen? Because that there's a connection to that, and what you're talking about at Burning Man.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
good.
Yes.
Good.
And in fact, sometimes in class, that's exactly what I say to actors, where they're like, they'll say like, what else should I be doing? What else should I do to kind of
Jumping
my
jacks.
career, or jumping jacks, but like further my career, or what else?
Yeah.
I'll just say, live your life.
There is no golden secret.
If you're not living your life, or when did our society kind of devolve to the place where we have to be 100% productive 100% of the time, or we start feeling like we're not doing enough, or like we start feeling badly about ourselves? Like, particularly when you're in a field, an artistic field, an artist, we have to have time to daydream. If you're not giving yourself downtime, right? If you're not giving yourself time to daydream, you're not kind of filling your cup, right? And so things like Burning Man or Coachella or seeing art, seeing theater, whatever, that helps fill our cup. Like, how are you going to express yourself? How are you going to tap in to all of like the beautiful psychological variances or emotional expansiveness if you're not actually living it in your own life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I do see it. Like, and it's one of the most exciting things about what I do. It's why I love what I do so much. And it's why I get sometimes a little terrifyingly passionate with them, because I want them to embrace, to step into the fear, to let go of the tidiness, to let go of, I guess, kind of whatever self-doubt or insecurity that we may have stepping into art. Because what that's going to do is not allow you to completely align yourself with this character, right? Because that's the goal. The way you just described Anna's performance in Blonde, right? Or anything that we're looking for. It's when you are not aware that you're watching an actor doing a scene, you're watching a person in life, right? It must be like a surfer, is constantly will sit out there for hours and hours and hours waiting for that perfect wave.
Yeah.
Because when there's a perfect alignment,
where
they were really just like 100% part of nature in that perfect moment.
And the timing has to be right for them to catch the wave.
Yes.
I just know that from body surfing, not from surfing, but it's amazing when you can catch it at the right time.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how my job feels when I see that perfect alignment.
You show it.
Of actor to scene, where they just let themselves go and they're not giving me a rehearsed performance, which you can see, like,
there's no time to even worry about what
everything has fallen away.
Yes.
Like, just literally everything falls away.
Ride the wave.
Yeah.
The wave.
Yeah. Well, what I was telling Mark about your classes, you also like really talk about they should let go of the excuses, like all the extra crap that's like added on that somehow has been like added into the equation these days. Like that's what I think why I think so many people gravitate towards your class, because it's like there's a realness about not just the work but also the reality of the business.
Have you ever seen someone ride the wave and they're on top of the wave and they're saying, "This wave isn't big enough"? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you mean when they're struggling after and then they get a series and then they forget to appreciate it? Yes.
Yeah. Gayle has many stories of that.
And you're like, oh, smack. Remember what it was like when you were crying like a baby princess because you couldn't get a job?
Right, yeah. I feel like the actors that like come to your class with the stuff that they can like usually get away with, like you hone in on it, you've seen it before, and you like call them out on it, and she really pushes them to like the next level, literally.
Because you know what, you're not trying to call them out for the sake of it. You want them to understand.
Right, because you know what? I do the same thing for myself. I'm no different. This is what I try and tell them. Like, casting directors do this too. Like, I think everybody does, right? We all have those negative voices, right, in our minds that chatter at us, that create insecurity. And so what we do is we create trapdoors. We're constantly creating trapdoors for ourselves, and it's just they're excuses. There are a series of excuses that will, that we construct to protect ourselves from failure in a way, but what they really are manufactured albatrosses that keep us down from succeeding, right? Because the idea of success is terrifying for a lot of people. So it's like, if I walk in and I have an excuse, right? I would have been so great at this audition, but I would work late last night. I was on set till 2 a.m. Like, you're already telling us not to take you seriously. Why? You're putting something in my head that would not have existed. And you just walked in, owned the moment, right? Even if in your head you're like, man, I wish I would have had a couple more hours. I really could have nailed this. Even if that is actually the truth. If you say it out loud to the room, then we're saying, well, we're not supposed to take you seriously. And you're just, creating protection for yourself. So if you don't get a call back, you've announced to yourself and to the room, well, it's because I didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I'm on your side. I choose to vote for you, right? So choose to vote for yourself. Choose to be on your side instead of all of these other things. Again, which may be true. We all have life experiences that, like create stumbling blocks for ourselves, right? But I don't know. I just find it more often than not, people are just trying to kind of fill that space with excuses.
Last night, Brian and I were watching every year the one-on-one next level actors they go in front of the Columbia grad school, the film school students. So this one woman who was no young buck, she was like, she was in her 50s or 60s even. She first thing out of her mouth was, "I apologize about the background. I'm in the first thing you apologize about, even if there is no excuse for her background, it immediately sets a tone.
It immediately sets a tone. And I get it. I understand the impulse. I really do. Like, sometimes I have to really, tell myself not to do that. I understand it, right? But it's just become such a common thing, right? Or we're actors, there were so many pages.
Right. That never flies with Gayle.
As soon as
you can't win.
Yeah,
right.
There weren't enough pages. There's too many pages. There's so much dialogue.
Right.
But as soon as this woman, before she even opened her mouth, she wouldn't even let us like her, because as soon as you apologize, the human condition is you just go like, you know what I mean? You already apologized. Yeah, there you go. It deflates the energy. There you go.
What I selfishly really like about Gayle's classes is with us The thing is, we run so many programs where, like, I can tell, like, they walk in and it's like, especially in some of our special programs when it's like 27 agents and managers, there's a lot of stakes. It could change their life. It could change their career. You can tell with some, they're like looking for things to be upset about as a defense mechanism to protect themselves.
That's it.
And I was like, well, one-on-one they didn't give me free lunch, so that's why I didn't get signed.
Or the room wasn't big enough or something.
Yeah. Or like,
That's
like,
it.
my leader sucked, or my leader this and that.
Life is always full of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Life is full of this stuff. And
Yeah.
you guys are so amazing. Like the actors, I don't know how you find them, but you guys have the greatest group of actors, and they're adults and they're mature and they're game and they show up. It's really, really, really fun for me, because I'm like a reader of people. Like I kind of think it's part of the casting director's job, right? We have to kind of read how actors are feeling, so we know if they need to be, if they need to chatter a little bit to kind of loosen up the nerves. We're talking an in-person audition, or we have to read our producers or directors and read energy and all of this stuff. But the same thing goes into teaching a class. Like you could tell the people who are just there and they're just these open vessels and they're so excited and they're so game and they're like, no, really, like I want to know what's going on. And then you can kind of tell the people who are, maybe just kind of looking, I don't know, to be seen or to be fluffed or to kind of, you just kind of like read all that. But you guys are pretty amazing. There's not a lot.
Well, what's interesting is you're talking. The first thing in my head was, you remember the black and white Frankenstein when they all come to the house and they have these like burning. They want to kill him, right? So when this whole thing, in other words, what the invaluable opportunity that an actor has to like meet and hear this from you, someone who's not necessarily an acting teacher at a university or just doing acting teaching, but who's involved with casting every day. And then you get like 4 years ago, this like pay to play thing where they wanted to kill anyone who was involved with a school that offered a casting director to teach. But look at what you're saying. Like, how valuable is that?
Well, I thought so too. I mean, because look, like Brian, you know this, like I took Stella, my daughter, right, a couple of years ago, and she was still in high school. So she's an artist, right? She's a musician. She loves to perform ever since she was teeny tiny wee thing. So we toured a lot of schools that had performing arts programs, right? We went to New York, we went to Northern California, like we went, to Canada, blah, blah, blah. And part of that process when you're doing these kind of orientations or these school visits is you get to kind of talk to the professors, right? So in all of these different acting schools.
And points of view, yeah.
And I'm listening to kind of what their approach is to teaching people. And I'm thinking, that is so ancient. You're giving your students ancient approaches to acting. Like, what are any of you doing? And this sounds terrible and it sounds really judgmental, so forgive me, but are any of you actually in the business now? Because it changes and evolves so quickly now, especially with everything online. And, just in the 30 plus years I've been doing this, which is a long time, but it's still changing really quickly. And so part of the reason that I love teaching and will always continue to teach is that I'm still working in this business and I know how it changes. And I know a lot of what these kids are learning in their super fancy and expensive repertory, kind of university experiences aren't necessarily germane to what they're going to be experiencing once they're out in the real world as actors. And I want to help unpack that for them. I want to help kind of demystify all of the conflicting information they get, right? Mm-hmm. And it's going to happen forever. Like actors still, their eyes roll in their head. Like they're going to hear something different from me. They're going to hear from another casting director. Everybody has their own different set of rules. But I try and just kind of wipe it all away so that they can know what actually matters and what doesn't.
Mhm.
And I do think that's valuable information. And so the fact that there was a whole movement of people that wanted to just obliterate this experience for people, these casting director teachings, it's like, we're trying to help actors. We are actually there to help you, to teach you what we know. And isn't that of value? Like, why is that not of value? I don't get it.
It became kill them all, burn them all, get them all. Yeah, meanwhile, there's some prominent people who are speaking about this, and they don't understand that there is a real value with being in a classroom with someone who really sees the new technology, what's happening, why maybe certain people are booking, why certain people aren't. Is that a terrible thing?
A terrible
Yeah.
thing. Because here's the thing, too. A lot of actors, right, that'll do these workshops are either not represented or underrepresented, right? And so what a casting director or casting associate or casting assistant that's teaching a workshop, that's teaching a class, gets to do is they get to discover what these actors' talents are, right? If we're receiving 3,000 submissions for co-star roles even, right? You're going through those submissions. I go through all of them myself. I don't know how other offices do it. Doesn't matter. But I'm going through all of those submissions, all of those postage stamp size photos myself, right? You know who you know, right? I know who I know. I know who's right for this role. But then what else do you draw from as a casting director, right? Actors who you've seen do work, people who, but you're going through these breakdowns. It's like, I also draw from the students I know from class. I go into all my old classes because I don't care if they're not represented or if they're with a small agent or a small manager, right? I know them because I saw what they did in class. All casting directors care about is how you slay a scene, right? So I can go into my classes and pull actors that I would not have known had I not taught at one-on-one, right? Like they just may have been a picture of another actor that I didn't know amongst thousands, right? So it's hugely advantageous. And by the way, even when I was an assistant teaching, my friend Patrick Rush brought me into teaching because he taught me the value of it. And some people will poo-poo like assistants or associates teaching. Don't do that. Like if it's for a casting director whose work you admire, you have to consider that those assistants and those associates are proving their taste to their casting director bosses. That's what I did when I was an assistant, when Patrick had me fill in for one of his classes. It's like, I could then go in and say, oh my God, Patrick, I had these amazing actors in my class last night. And I could give him the pictures and resumes and I could tell him what I loved about what I saw in their scenes the night before. Or he could come out and he could go, Gayle, do you have anyone from your workshops who's right for this role? I'd be, yes! And I could bring in those actors who I had seen in class, right? Which feels good. But two, I can prove to Patrick, my boss at the time, what my taste is. And he could either say, they were really great, Gayle. That was totally perfect. Or, yeah, that wasn't such a fit. Like, well, let's try them for a different role. But there's a conversation taking place between me as a casting assistant, casting associate, with my boss. And you're developing your confidence in expressing your creative opinions to your casting director boss. You're proving your taste. You're getting used to expressing yourself creatively. It's a win-win. And so it would always make me sad to hear people say, oh, well, assistants are teaching. Don't do it because they're going to be casting directors one day. They're going to be casting directors one day. And they are trying to prove themselves. And again, like, everyone is still on the side of the actor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm over
No. We're like taking super fast.
So back to the beginning, I said how excited we were because you are like so alive. So you do all kinds of things. You make your own jewelry.
I do.
So that woman who makes her own jewelry, does all these things, what drew you into this business? Like, how did you choose casting?
Because you were never.
Were you like a 12-year-old girl who said, I want to, yes, what happened?
Yeah, I was never an actor. Well, I always loved television and movies. And I mean, to the point where I think my parents were actually really concerned about me. You know, because I don't come from my father was a physician. Like I come, his whole side of the family were all doctors, right?
Wow.
And, you know, all big brained, academic, you know. And so then my parents have this daughter who's watching television all the time. You know,
Yeah.
that was kind of like, and they used to jokingly, like offhandedly say, like, "Well, I hope you find a career." And you know, no one they knew at all
Wow.
was in the entertainment business.
You grew up in Long Beach.
I grew up in Long Beach, 4th generation Long Beach.
Wow.
And they were hugely involved in the community. Like we grew up just with this vast, you know, community of friends and families, and it was a beautiful, beautiful town to grow up in. No one in the entertainment business, right? So, anyways, but I always loved television, loved theater, loved movies. I went to USC. For
When
a
you
while.
went to USC, did you know when you were a freshman at USC what you wanted to do? Because I didn't. Good. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I thought maybe I wanted to be in fashion. Like I, studied in Paris for 8 months.
When did you start doing the jewelry then, or no? Like
no, COVID.
That's good. Are those your earrings?
No,
unbelievable.
my necklace.
All right, so back to USC.
So I went to
yeah.
So I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yes.
All I know, again, my parents, I think, were deeply
Oh my
worried
gosh,
about
they must
me.
be putting some pressure.
And so I started taking some film classes, and fell in love with it.
Wow, you're at the right place.
I was at the right place.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get into USC now. Let's be clear. But I loved it. I loved it. And so then I started doing internships. Like I did internships for NBC, the NBC Page program.
Right,
the
after
ABC
school, during school, while you're
yes,
still
when I was like a senior. I started doing internships for a morning talk show here, which at the time was called AM Los Angeles.
Wow.
So I started kind of like, I was in the ABC Page program. So then you got to like work at the Academy Awards and the Comedy Awards and all of these different offices. So I started to actually learn what people in this business do. And I just worked, one of the men that I worked with, his wife was in casting. And I just said, can I take her to coffee and pick her brain? Like, what is that? Because I had always been obsessed with actors. Like, I'm sure people who are interested in wardrobe are watching what people are wearing, or people who are interested in makeup are watching that. You know what I mean? Like, I was always particularly interested in the actors, but I never wanted to be an actor, right? And so I just kind of went and I met with his wife, Lori. What is this thing you do? She was an assistant to a casting director, Peg Halligan. And they brought me on as their intern. And I just knew nothing. And thank God for their patience. Because they just trained me, and then I became their assistant and then their associate. And then I went, Peg kind of got out of the business after a number of years of working with her. And I went and became an assistant in the casting department at NBC and worked for Leslie Litt and Stephen O'Neill, who were my dear friends to this day. And again, like I'm just, then from there, Meg Lieberman and Mark Hirschfeld just like kept building an understanding of casting from kind of every different angle, from being online and then the networks and the studios, and I'm so fortunate that I just had really amazing bosses, again, who were patient with me and taught me along the way, because there was a number of years I was just kind of a grumpy assistant. I have a bit of an artist's temperament myself. But
I bet you, when you look back and you made that first step, this is so important for people to hear. It's incredible how life is that way, where you take this, a step towards what you're supposed to do, and something always happens to lead to the next, to the next, to the next. And it's not so easy. There's always those times where you're like, geez, I'm being treated, but I'm still sticking in there. And you know what? Look at what happens then.
But to this day, it's like every single job I have, I feel like I learned something from, right? I learned how to be a better communicator. I learned how to be more efficient. I learned how to not take things personally. I learned how to help the producers navigate their vision together, because now we're holding a lot of people in casting, right? I mean, we have so many executive producers and so many, and you have all of these studio executives, all of these network executives, and all of these people can have varying creative visions. And everyone wants to believe that the casting director has their vision at front and center of their mind. And we have to cinch everyone together and make sure that everyone feels heard and safe. And, casting can be an emotional process for people because it is a process where people can know what they want, but not necessarily know how to express it. You know what I mean? So we have to make them all feel okay and just kind of be a mind reader, but also calm, and also just keep going, and also make each of these entities feel like everything's taken care of. And there's a lot of moving parts all the time.
The way that you're expressing that is kind of the way you were expressing Burning Man. No, it's really
Totally.
good. Isn't that incredible?
Totally.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is partly why I need Burning Man. It presses the restart button for the whole year.
Because it connects all of us in such an accentuated way, where then you can go out into the world and know, hey, I'm still connected.
Radical acceptance. So even if you have somebody who is, who doesn't totally see your vision, or doesn't see this actor, or is, works this way, right? So gotta accept it. Okay, you still have to make them feel held, make them feel heard, and just bring everybody together and their visions. And it can get super tricky. And so if you just can, I don't know, let your own ego fall away a lot. There were times in my life where I really wasn't kind of good at that. Like I would take everything, take it all in. Well, because there's a lot of times where we're screamed at, where we're insulted. Why did you bring in that actor? You're a fraud. You're bringing in horrible things.
People
are said
said
to
you're a fraud.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
In the middle of the production office.
Wow.
Screaming.
Like producers or like execs.
It sounds like the garment business. When I experienced for a minute, it was really nasty. Yeah.
Especially when we work so hard, and you do want everyone to feel like you have everything taken care of, but when you have we're not doing math. You have a bunch of opinions, right? And you have a bunch of voices all screaming at you. And we have to make everyone feel, again, heard, but it's almost like which voice is the loudest? Which is the person has the final say in something? When I'm dealing with 10 producers, who's the one who has the final say? And, oh my God, yeah, terrible things said to us. Right? And so you have to, again, just kind of learning to not bring that home with you.
Yeah.
It's not like, I'm not a fraud. Where's my comfort place? And actors think they're the only ones,
right?
Because we're all made to feel vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's why your classes, because you tie it in personally to like how, it's like you go through the same things and you really relate to them in that way.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
Nobody does special programs like One-on-One Next Level. It's where we really help actors shine.
I'm Emilio. I signed with my Southeast agent right after the Atlanta trip, and now I'm auditioning several times every month. And I almost didn't do the Atlanta trip because I thought it was just another cash grab. I can tell you from experience that it's not. That's not how One-on-One Next Level rolls. And here we are 6 months later, and I already booked my first job with my Atlanta agent.
I'm Rebecca, and the Bridge program demystified the industry for me. It gave me the platform to get off book in under 10 minutes. I met 60 new artists that are now all a part of my community, and I even signed with a manager. I've never walked away from a program so confident in my abilities. I'm so grateful for One-on-One Next Level.
My name is Capenna, and I can finally call myself a working actor after participating in the LA Super Showcase. I had just moved to LA and I felt stuck. I came across the LA Super Showcase, and let me tell you, it was a life-changing experience. I signed with an agent, and since then, I've been auditioning for series regulars and booked my first TV job. I finally feel like I made it to the next level, thanks to One-on-One Next Level.
In the next 12 months, One-on-One Next Level will host 27 special programs bringing you unmatched, exclusive access to industry connections. Special programs aren't just a one-and-done class. Instead, they're designed to accomplish in a weekend what it takes most actors months, even years to do. So whether you want to get repped in a smaller market like Atlanta, bypass casting directors and connect directly with TV showrunners and decision makers, or spend a weekend meeting a bunch of musical theater industry professionals in New York City, you have to become a member to be eligible to sign up for our special programs. To apply, go to www.oneononenextlevel.com. We can't wait to hear your success story.
There's such a deep reservoir of just real talk and like a wealth of information. I think a lot of people in the industry aren't necessarily open to sharing sometimes, and I think you're so open about maybe some of the struggles that you go through on a day-to-day basis as part of your casting life. And the reason why we started this podcast is, One-on-One has been in existence for over 30 years, and it hasn't always been easy. In fact, it's not easy on a day-to-day basis. And Mark always has this saying, like, where there's a will, there's a way. And we've, gone through a lot to still be here. And like with our actors, it always makes us sad when we see them. They kind of they want this to be math, right? They want this to be a formula. I do this, I do that, and then I'm a star. Or, if I meet this person, then I have my career. So what we're trying to kind of hoping that they get from this podcast is sometimes you have to take a risk. Sometimes you have to think outside of the box. And sometimes you're doing something that 10 out of the 12 people in your life are saying is a bad idea, but in your gut, it's the right thing.
Yes.
And you take that risk and you be authentic, and then you rise through. So my question for you is, has there ever been a point in your casting life where you took a risk, you took a gamble, and it really just, blew away the obstacles, or really like a gutsy decision that you made?
That's a really, really good question. I think it's been in terms of taking jobs. You know what I mean? So in terms of leaving something that was really secure
Like a series.
for something that may have felt like a gamble, when I was working for Meg Lieberman and Mark Hirschfeld, and Meg and Mark were amazing bosses, and they were casting absolutely everything in town. And I was casting Third Rock from the Sun for them, and I loved the producers, Bonnie and Terry Turner, and the actors on the show. It was just, and all of the writers. It was such a happy family. And then I got this job to be the head of casting at Imagine, because Tony Krantz came in and started a television department with Ron Howard and Brian Grazer. And, I wasn't making a lot of money for Meg and Mark, but it still was safe. It was such a happy home, and I wasn't actually the one having to put my neck out there and bring work in. Like that was Meg and Mark's job. They were the company, right? So we were in this happy fold of a family, right? But then I got this opportunity and it was terrifying. And so much of me felt like, I don't know enough to head a department at a new television studio and blah, blah, blah. I probably didn't. But it was really terrifying to leave that home of Meg and Mark, you know, and go do something completely different and be an executive. You know what I mean? Which is not exactly who I am. You know, I'm a little bit more funky and I'm the person who wants to scream in the library just because they say don't. You know what I mean?
It's a little bit more corporate than
Sure.
But a great opportunity that
But it
you
was
probably
a phenomenal
you can go
opportunity.
anywhere from there. Yeah.
What a blessing.
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, what a blessing.
And what a great decision you made.
And so, but it was terrifying, and I did not know up from down for so long. And you know, and still, like, I kind of, this is the way I look at life, is that aren't we always evolving? Aren't we always learning? Like, aren't we always, I mean, if I could do that job now, I would do it so much more differently. Like, I think I'd be so much better of an executive now. Right?
So much more experienced.
Because of all the experience that I had, you know, and then it was also hard to leave Imagine, right? To partner with my dear, dear friend Bonnie Zane, right? And to start our own partnership. And I was like, Bonnie, I haven't been casting in so long. Like, why do you want to partner with me? Like, I'm just going to be having to hang on your coattails as a casting director until I start generating my own work. And she's like, I have more work than I know what to do with. You know what I mean? She wanted somebody to help the burden. So that was also like a big risk to leave the safety of a corporate job and health insurance and this secure paycheck and this structure, right? And this, again, a beautiful family there, to then go off on your own with no health insurance because casting directors weren't in a union then, you know, and to like kind of put myself out there was terrifying, but I was my dear friend, and that was also a great experience. We had a 20-year amazing partnership where we were fortunate enough to be working all the time.
in the cutest house in Larchmont.
Cutest house in
that was a very
Larchmont.
cool place.
And even in the beginning, before casting directors were unionized, we had health insurance. We provided health insurance for our employees.
Wow.
Like,
Wow, that
we
is
kept
incredible.
them working year round. Like, we, you know, paid them at the time just really decent salaries, you know, out of our own pockets. Like we, you know, paid them more than what the studios were paying us for them.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, we were really, really proud of that.
Yeah.
And so that was terrifying. And you know, it is, again, I feel like I'm like,
No, this is
No. But when you say terrifying, was it also liberating because no more corporate environment?
Yes, of course. And that's also part of the reason that I wanted to partner with Bonnie is I wanted to start a family. And at that time, you know, in television, the executive land, there was this whole psychology, like whoever leaves the office earliest is they're not working as hard as everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was never spoken.
Yeah.
You know, it's
But you know you read about it.
imposed on anybody. There just is this kind of, there's this
Code.
Yes.
Unwritten code. Yeah.
And I wanted to start a family, you know what I mean? And so the idea of doing that, where you could kind of create your own schedule more, was also part of the reason that leaving and partnering with Bonnie was just so much more like enticing. And plus, I am a creative person. I miss being creative. I miss being part of the creative family that gets to put together the pieces of the puzzle project, right? Like that's what I love.
Yeah.
So, you know, but too, like as a casting director, anytime you're kind of putting forth, this is also another thing that I can relate to actors about, that like fear factor, right? It comes back to reading people, reading your producers, reading your director, reading your executives, is that as casting directors, when we passionately put forward who we love, the actors that we love, right? Sometimes we have to be careful. Because sometimes you have executive producers who do not want to be told by a casting director who they're supposed to like.
And then you have to let go when they don't choose that person, right? You gotta
And oftentimes they will go the exact opposite direction.
just show
you who's boss.
And I don't know if they're aware of that psychology. I don't know if it's an overt thing, right?
Yeah.
But I've worked on shows, and this was part of the reason that Bonnie and I had our own office, was so that the two of us, as well as our staff, could all off-gas. Like, does this feel crazy? Does this feel crazy? Like, yes, I'm just totally crazy. You know, like you would come to an understanding of what the producer psychology is on a certain show. And because we had a show that we worked on for a number of years, and we would give them like great actor reads, and they'd be like, who else do you have? So we'd have another casting session. Who else do you have? But they would never be able to articulate what it was about these other groupings of actors that they were seeing that they didn't like. What is it that you're not seeing? Like, help me help you. Like, or what is it that you're seeing too much of? Because they were in a different state. All of these people, the show did not shoot in town. And so you're like, okay, great. Like, I'm always happy to see more actors, but help me get closer to your vision. What is it that you're not seeing of these actors? How can I direct these actors in a way that you're seeing the role that you're not seeing in these groups? Who are the offer-only actors that are available? Because they consider themselves very fancy. Oh, okay. Is this Game of Thrones actor available? No, because they're on Game of Thrones. Is John C. Reilly available? Yeah, I don't think he's doing an episode of this because he's got a thriving movie career. But I'll make that call for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so what we had to start doing was saying that actors were offer only. When their agents would say, oh no, they'll come in and read. I'm like, no, I know. Just send me their reel. Because that actor who would come in to read for like maybe 4 or 5 different roles on the series, but was never booking it because they were reading for the role. Now all of a sudden they're offer only. Let's make an offer to that actor.
Right.
So I knew with this show, if ever I was like passionate about an actor, they were almost guaranteed to not get the job. So I had to start curbing my opinions.
That's so.
And it's really hard to do.
Yeah, that's tough.
Because the way casting directors look at it is that's why you've hired us.
Right.
Is because we know actors. We know we are actually educated about the skill set of this actor, about their resume, so like when we're saying, we're talking about reasons A through Z why this actor is perfect for this role. If you're just discarded, well, okay. And I just think there are a lot of producers out there who look at us like, it's a phrase Allison Jones coined, I believe. Allison Jones is a genius. That some people just want you to be a casting hostess. They just want you to show up and just keep bringing in actor after. And they don't really care what your opinion is. Do not tell me who to like. Just keep bringing the next person. And so that comes into why I said earlier on in this conversation that part of our job is about reading people, because if that's all they want from me, okay, I can't be so disgruntled, that that's all they want from me, then I'll do this job that way. It may not be as fun, it may not be as exciting, and I may never want to work for you again.
Right.
Lesson learned, right? But that's what the job is, then you move on, right? But there are some people, and I will always work for these people, and who just absolutely value how deeply the casting director collaborates on the project. how integral a part of their vision we are. And those are the producers who are like, what do you think? Oh my God, okay, this is what I'm not seeing. This is what I'd love to see. Okay, great, awesome. And then there's just a constant creative conversation that's happening that is so exciting. That gets everybody closer to sculpting the vision, right? Because part of it has to the fun of the casting director is like, okay, this is what's on the page, right? But here's a completely different way to go that I think is really exciting, or it could be crazy, but you guys tell me, right? But when someone isn't looking at you and going, why the hell did you bring in that actor? When they're like, oh my God, I totally get what you're seeing. It was a little too weird, but let's remember him for a different role. These are the kinds of conversations. This is the perfect wave for a casting director.
That's excellent. Yes.
When you get to actually collaborate with your executive producers and your director in that way, where it actually is a team, it's what I live for, you know? So, so it kind of goes back to, I always have the most circuitous answers to any question, but it kind of goes back to casting directors are always putting themselves on the line. It can always be a little terrifying when you are passionately fighting for an actor, because that is from what we are judged, right? So an actor is judged from the way they immerse themselves in the scene, the choices that we make. Ours is our taste and the way we are able to talk about an actor and the way we merge the writer and executive and producer and director's visions with what's on the page. The way we challenge it, the way we
stand by your decision or your suggestion.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Because what you risk is that executive producer putting you on speakerphone and screaming at you that you're a fucking hack in the middle of all of the people that you work with. And by the way, the actor who that executive producer called me, a hack for hiring, is a very famous movie star.
Of course.
And director. So, but those things, like, they can, like, embed in you a little bit, like, they hurt our feelings.
Right.
As much as we want to say, and there are some people like that who can just be like, just roll off your back, just let it roll off your back. Like, I get it when actors, like, why they kind of want to approach a scene safely. Why they want it to be tidy.
They don't want to risk that. Yeah. But then you don't get anywhere. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was going to ask you, if we were to put a button on this for the actors to conclude, as far as like what you would say to them when dealing with coming into the casting room, as far as just some good words of like inspiration and advice.
Well, you know what? They need to know, and I say this in every class, they need to know that every casting director is on their side, right? So sometimes they get bad vibes from casting directors or the team in the casting office or the producers or the director, right? But what every single person in that room genuinely wants is for you to come in and nail it, right? They're not judging you. Not a person is judging you as a human being. You know what I mean? Like, nobody, unless you do something insane. And we have had actors come in and do kind of insane things, right? Like throw chairs against the wall or like do kind of weird, like really weird stuff, right? Exactly. Insane that would make somebody question how you would behave on a set, right? Aside from that, everybody wants you to come in and have fun and just be in it. You get these few minutes to do art, right? So that's why I try and always say, wipe away the fear. Come in and play. Come in and have fun. Because then we want to give you direction. We want to be able to adjust what you're doing. But we can't really do that if you're not coming in with game.
And game means
100% energy and choices and
not worried about the result.
not worried about the result.
Yes.
But it is not a director's job or a casting director's job, and I say this also in all my classes, to help you become an interesting storyteller.
Yeah.
It's not our job to teach you how to create an interesting character from the ground up. Like, we assume that you're training, your classes, whatever kind of training, people don't have any. They're just going off gut, and that's great too. But that's what your process is, your process, and that's what you have. Like, don't make me tell you how to sculpt something interesting from the ground up, right? That's not my job.
Right.
It's not, it's my job to say, okay, that was awesome. Great. Now let's make it a little bit more withholding at the top of the scene, and then let that energy build. And when you come to this part and this dynamic and this speech, then just let him have it, or whatever it is.
Yes.
Right? But you have to come, and we want to know that every day you come on set, you're acting opposite that series regular or that lead or your fellow guest and co-stars, and that you can hold your own. You don't just fold like a cheap card table. And so if you're only coming in and giving me the stay free that everybody's going to give me, okay, you're going to get some co-star roles, right? What we all want you to do is just go for it and have everyone is on your side, because one, we want to get the role cast, okay? But two, like, when an actor comes in and has fun and goes for it, it makes us look good, it makes everybody feel good, because it goes back to what we were saying. All ties into Burning Man. We all feed off each other's energy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's incredible.
We all feed off each other's energy.
Yeah.
And I know that we've become a society that is hiding behind social media, hiding behind a 2D cheap experience, right? And so maybe it is a little bit terrifying to completely let your emotions get messy, to completely let your humanity fly, to look people in the eye or see how they're responding to you, right? But this is the grit of life, and it's the only thing that matters.
Right.
Yeah, the late great Gary Winnick once told me, he was a film director, not TV so much, but he said, your job, meaning the actor's job, is to show me, the director, who the character is. I'm not waiting to tell you, I want you to show me. And you know what? It really hit home.
Yes. Tell me a story.
There you go.
Tell me a story.
That's what you're saying there. Mm-hmm.
This is why we love you. Your energy is unbelievable.
Gayle, this has been so.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
guys are
This
so
is what it's about.
Oh, it's fun.
Did you have fun?
Always. I could talk to you guys forever.
This would you have helped so many. This is what it's about.
But probably to all of your actors who have taken my class, they're like, oh, there she goes again.
No.
She is.
There's repeats, And we touched on like the great stuff, because I said this in the initial, I was like, I don't want to be like a sad foundation thing, or like a workshop Q&A or whatever. It's like, it kills our soul. So this is such an interesting, just to get to know you more, and I feel like we've known each other for so long now. I learned stuff about you, through this too. So,
and yeah, everything today is, of course, all of us can share. Everybody, those things that are larger than life, they're the things that make us feel alive. And that's why when we talk to you every time, it's always like, okay, it's not just a conversation. It's like something larger than life.
Something larger than life, or it's just life.
Right. But life is exciting. It's a gift, and we forget that it's a gift.
Well, so many people in this industry have and they're like, why are you even doing it? It's like, what's the point if it's going to be like this?
What's the point if it's just going to be like this?
That is boring.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Well, thank you.
You are not boring. I'll tell you. It's such a joy.
Yeah.
You guys are a joy.
Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't done it yet, grab the Backstage Pass. Don't treat this podcast as mere background entertainment. The Backstage Pass offers exclusive resources and behind-the-scenes footage that empower you to make a real impact on your career.